Thank you for coming to my channel. Today I'm gonna go over classes of IP. There's class A, class B, and class C. So first of all, let's go ahead and draw a line that doesn't want to draw at all for some reason. There it goes. And then, so this would be your classes. So class, there's your A, your B, and your C. I can't draw straight lines even if it was the end of me. So there, and then there's the network octets. So well, I'll just call it network. And then there's the possible networks, number of networks, number of networks, and number of hosts. So your class A is going to be your first octet is going to be used, but it's going to be used up for the network. So if you have 30 networks, you'll have like network 1, network 2, network 3, and all the way up to network 30. And then your next 3 are just going to be your host, X, Y, Z. You don't use letters in your IP. This is just showing you that you're going to use the first octet for your network, and the next 3 is for your hosts. Class B is going to start at 1. So your class A starts at 1 and it goes up to like 127. Class B starts at 128, 0, and then Y, Z. I wonder what, I'll just put X, Y. Okay, that's fine, whatever. Either way, it's fine. So your class A, you're using only your first octet. Your class B, you're using 2 octets. Now, your A starts at 1, but it can go all the way to 127. I thought that looked like a... Huh. You know what? Class C is 192. Dot 0 dot 0 dot Z. So now you're using your first 3 octets for your network. I can just put one whole line, I guess. So your class A uses only your first octet. Class B uses your first 2 octets. Class C uses your first 3 octets for the network. Think network. Class A will have the most number of hosts at 16 million hosts. In fact, you'll need to know this for your test on the 16 million host for Class A. It's kind of weird. They'll say something like, hey, how many hosts can Class A host or have? And just 16 million. Number of networks is small. So that would be 127 networks. Your Class B will have 16,000 networks with 63,000 hosts. Now, the reason why, if you noticed, if you're just using the first octet, you only have 127 values. If you're using 2 octets, you're having 16,000 values, which it's kind of weird when host is having 2 octets as well, yet they have 63,000. Huh. Okay, whatever. And then class C, you could have 2 million networks and 254 hosts. Well, anyways, you use one for the host and one for the broadcast. So it normally is supposed to be 256, but you can only have a 254 host. You have to subtract 2 hosts. The same with all these other 2 as well. You have to subtract 2, one for the broadcast and one for the host. So there's technically 256 slots available, but the number of hosts you could have is 254, if that makes sense. Because usually let's say you got 192.168.0.1. This will technically be your network. Your broadcast would be 192.168.6. And this, 0.6 would be your broadcast. Broadcast gets a little bit more advanced. Basically, you're sending packets to every network, and you have to have one network with one host open. You have to use up a host for the broadcast to get to the other host on the same network. It's just remember, subtract 2, boom, done. There's class A, is for large companies. They use the first octet. Now there's 2 other classes, which is class D. There's actually a class D and an E, but they're not available to the public. Not for public view or usage. Boom. Or usage. Not for public view or usage. Technically, I have it here that it's for multicasting. Your class D is for multicasting. And your class E is for research. It's reserved for research. So these will be the main ones you'll be dealing with on a day-by-day basis. Mostly C and A most of the time when you're working for a company. If you're just getting customers up and going, it's class C most of the time, unless they're special care customers. The A, B, and C is what you need to know the most. D and E, there might be a test question like, what is class D used for? It's used for multicasting, and class E is for research. That's all you need to know, really. And that's it. I'll just stick with that. Thank you for coming, and hopefully you learned a little tidbit about the different classes of networks.